Well, it is Friday once again, and if you've listened to the previous 50 episodes of our show, you
Jeez.
know that we are here talking Exhuming the X-Files. Now, in season one, Jeremy and I, we did a top 5 best and worst list after watching the entire season one. We are doing that with season two. Next week, we will hit you with season three, episode one. But for now, we're going to talk about the best and worst, and then kind of maybe how we felt season two compared to season one overall. And we can kind of start with that first, Jeremy. I'll toss it to you. How did you feel season two compared to season one? Did you feel it was a significant upgrade? Did you feel it was a little bit less good?
No.
How did you feel?
I went over my notes and I really had a tough time picking a top 5 here versus
Okay.
the bottom 5 was fairly easy. No, it wasn't as easy as it would, but there was clear winners and clear losers in season 1. In this season, looking over all of my notes, there was only a couple absolute losers for me, but by and large, almost the entire season is kind of that middle of the road to good level of X Files that we've come to expect.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was in every way better than what happened in season
Yeah, I will agree with that. I think I had a little bit tougher time picking my 5 best of this, only because I feel like when I got to numbers 4 and 5, I'm pretty clear on my top 3 as to what I like the best. But 4 and 5, I felt like there was a lot more that I could have picked from than there was in season 1, so it was much more difficult for me to throw in, okay, I got to pick two. So, which just is a testament to the overall quality of a lot of the episodes this season, that I was having a tough time picking the 5 best. So, yeah, I mean, we don't need to bury the lead. We don't need to dive into this. Everyone can go listen to all of our episodes on the individual episodes here, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave a comment. What did you like? What were your top 5 best and worst of season two? We would definitely love to see what you thought, and maybe discuss them, on our next episode, just to see how different they are from ours. But we'll start with our 5 worst first. And we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 being the absolute bottom of the barrel, the worst episode of the season. Jeremy, we'll go ahead and start with you. Number 5, which would be the least of your worst. Number 5 worst episode of the season.
Now, this might cause a conflict, but I'm going to have to say it is Ascension.
Ah, okay.
And
Okay.
I the reason that I say that is that there's a
Yeah.
couple, and this happens again in this bottom 5 and in my top 5. Spoiler alert, because there are two to be continued episodes in this season early on, not counting the final one, where the first episode is really good. It leads the show in a really, really good way. And then the second episode just peters out so hard. It's disappointing to watch. And I think we talked about it during the last time because they hand writership over to different writers for the second episode than the first one. So the
Okay.
continuity kind of goes away, the quality kind of goes away, where they're steering the story doesn't really make sense. And so I'm watching Ascension and I'm like, I didn't like it. I after that was the episode after Dwayne Barry, wasn't it? Let me look at my
I
notes here.
believe so. Yeah. See, I thought you were going to talk about a different one. So, okay. Yeah, yeah. Because Ascension, that's the one where Scully gets kidnapped.
Yeah,
She gets
and
kidnapped and taken off and disappears to have her baby.
I really liked the Dwayne Barry episode. I loved the Dwayne Barry episode, and
Yeah.
then him in the second episode, it was just like, eh. It
Okay.
just,
Controversial pick.
but yeah, that's my number 5 on the
Okay.
worst episodes.
Okay. Now, I forgot to mention this or preface this. We do not know each other's picks.
Yeah, we
So
don't talk
we're,
to each other about it.
yeah,
No.
we're both going in kind of like blind here. So it'll be interesting to see how we react. For my number 5 worst, along the same lines of what you just said, but a different two-parter, and that is Endgame. The finale of the two-part episode that started with Colony, with the alien bounty hunter. The reason why I selected, I don't necessarily think Endgame is awful. But when I'm thinking of like the worst episodes of the season, I gotta factor in sheer disappointment. And I feel like the writing of Endgame was so bad, so illogical. So the characters doing such stupid shit through it, leaps of logic. How the hell did Mulder suddenly get all the way to Antarctica or whatever so quickly? And I was just so disappointed with how it fumbled that, because that first part, Colony, when Samantha's introduced, an alien bounty hunter, you're on such a high, and you're like, oh sweet, I cannot wait to see where this goes. And then they just dropped the ball, just absolutely botched it for me. So again, along the same lines as you, being disappointed with Ascension, and you really like Dwayne Barry, I was really disappointed with Endgame in relation to Colony. So Endgame is my number 5 worst, and I also might be kind of controversial to listeners out there, but hey, it's our list. So,
Yeah, fuck you.
all right, number 4, number 4 worst.
Endgame.
Oh, okay, cool,
And
cool.
for the exact same reason, it needed to be closer to the number one slot for worst of the five. It was definitely a worser episode for Ascension, but I'm not going to rehash everything that you just said.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hokey, stupid shit that happened in this that shouldn't have been this way. There was a lot of great, amazing elements that should have come together for one of the better episodes in the season, and instead the blue balls you get with these continuation episodes that are written by somebody else that just kind of drop the ball with the story is so disappointing that it just makes the episode that much worse.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I like finding out like how many of these we have in common. So we have Endgame in common. My number 4, although it created something that will probably never die between us when we are discussing any X Files episode in the future. The episode itself sucked, and that was Fresh Bones. Voodoo. So stupid. This whole episode. No, I mean, aside from the problematic nature of how they're depicting voodoo and people of color, the writing of it was stupid. The logic was stupid, and that it's now a running joke forever between us. So, oh, why did this happen? Voodoo.
Voodoo,
It's like
of
they
course.
have no fucking clue how to write themselves out of this, so they're just going to voodoo is the reason. Fresh Bones, my number 4, did not like
I hear you, Matt. I hear
it.
you.
Your number 3.
My number three, let me flip to it. Flip to my notes here. Sorry to keep y'all waiting out there. My number three, Firewalker.
Oh, okay, okay.
I it had what's his face? Why can't I remember his name? The guy from The West Wing should have been excellent. Josh Lyman. That's what I got.
Mm,
Talking about. You have this robot that never moves inside of it. It's just a really stupid episode. It had the guy from fucking the Seven Deadly Sins movie. Why can't I remember that
yeah,
movie?
yeah.
He
7.
made me fuck her. Yeah,
Yeah,
Seven.
7.
They had him, and he was kind of wasted in it. Like the special effects, the neck burster stuff, that was really good. That was really genuinely good stuff, and I didn't really like anything about it or anything else that happened in the episode. You had a guy that died to a flare gun to the back. Like it
Yeah,
was just really hokey to me. And yeah,
that's fair.
that's it.
It
That's
was just
I hated the episode.
yeah, it was a bad version of Ice.
It was.
Yeah, and I had considered Firewalker for my top 5, but it didn't quite make it. My number 3 was the Kalasari. And this one, it was right in this, like the doldrums. Like we just had a s- a grouping of really poor episodes back to back to back, and this was one of them. Not necessarily because it was back to back with another bad episode, because this came right after Humbug, I think, and it was just this stupid kid wanting his balloon, and I guess like a ghost twin killing people. it was boring. It was uninteresting. I did not give a shit about anything that was going on in it. And again, it's more of this weird supernatural voodoo type weird stuff. And it just turns into like an exorcist sort of parody at the very end. And I didn't find it, I just did not find it interesting at all. Calasari is my number three worst of season two. Number
You know,
two.
I could definitely see
Oh,
why you threw it in there.
okay. Number two.
My number two was three. The
Wow, the sexy one, huh?
no, that was not.
Suck my finger, my bloody
Let
finger.
me. I gotta go so far back into my notes history here. But I remember it starts with that fucking terrible like hot tub scene
Yeah.
where the dude gets attacked by a bunch of different people.
Yep.
Jeez, no, it's
I like
after episode
some of
one.
the vampire stuff in it. Like I like the guy who was like caught in the police station and like the sun was coming up and he burns up and stuff. I like some of that stuff.
Mulder's love interest was this just dog, like it
Oh,
normally
oh,
is.
that's so mean.
Um,
That's mean. They were dating
see,
in real life. That was the love of his life at that point in time.
they were into blood sports. There was that weird, awkward scene where we're two consenting adults. Leave us alone. Like, I
Okay, okay. I would not have expected that one to be on your list, especially so high. But we're here to be surprised. Three. Okay. My number two, fearful symmetry. Invisible elephants running around, dealing with zoos, and oh yeah, by the way, aliens are involved. I fucking hated that episode. Everything about it. The more I think about it, the more I dislike it. And so it was one of those filler episodes. It had nothing to do with anything. They just threw everything in a pot and hope it worked. And it didn't. Fearful Symmetry is my number two worst of season two.
I feel you. I just did. I looked over my recent notes and I'm like, I can't just name three out of the last four episodes I just watched in
But
this
they were
list.
bad.
They were they were terrible.
They were.
All right, so my number one worst episode, and it was the only of all of my notes. I wrote it at a note at the very top of it. Awful, capital A, just
Okay.
fresh bones.
Ah.
That episode
Voodoo.
sucked. Yes, I think it's cute that it has led to we can just write off any plot holes, anything we want to is voodoo, and sometimes it's actually voodoo. But this episode was terrible, top to
Yeah,
bottom. Everything about it sucked, and I would never ever willingly watch this episode again.
that's fair. I mean, I can't add to it. It was bad. My number one worst of the season was Excelsis Day or Excelsis Die, however it is. This was when Mulder and Scully went to the old folks' home, and it starts with a ghost assaulting an actual like nurse that was there, and it turns out like there's magic mushrooms growing in the basement that's making these people like, I guess their dementia's going away, and then they're actually seeing go. Oh God, I don't want to see things with old people. No offense. I don't care about the old people. I don't want to see some old man showing Mulder his dick and saying it don't work no more. Like, no, this was one of the worst, well, the worst episode of the season for me. Excelsis Day. Hated it. We'll never watch that again.
Jeez.
Hated it.
Hating on these old people.
Ah,
Okay.
man, I did. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get to the positives, the five best of season
Someday
two,
it
in our
will be
opinion.
you, Sonny.
Your number five, best of season two.
Best of season two, Dwayne Barry
Okay.
makes my number five slot. It was an episode, or Dwayne Barry himself, though he says his name over and over and over again. It was memorable. It starts really good with the weird plastic aliens on the other side of the abduction scene, and it ends, on a really good hanger. It led into what should have been a good episode, but ended up making my bottom five. But I really, really enjoyed Dwayne Barry.
Okay. No, that's fair. It's a cool episode. It's a cool episode. It wasn't one that I was considering. I was going for like I was trying to decide like Little Green Men. The opening episode of the season was really good. I kind of liked Red Museum, but I was like, ah, God, there's just so many things wrong with it. Even though the concept
Yeah.
was cool. Ultimately, my number five is a recent one that we watched. It was Dodd Calm, where basically Mulder and Scully age. I know you weren't the biggest fan of it, but I really, really enjoyed the set, the visuals, the concept of it. I thought Scudder did a really good job as the villain, and it was one of those contained episodes that, yeah, it doesn't make any sense how they de-age at the end, but I'll let it go. I'll let it slide. Dodd Calm is my number five best.
My number 4 is Colony, the other
Okay.
continuation episode.
Okay.
Um, we got to see, well, let me get back to my notes here. I remember it being really, really good. I just did not memorize my notes.
Unbelievable. I am ashamed to be your co-host, how unprepared you are.
Get off me. We needed to drag this out to longer than 10 minutes somehow. Uh, starting, it has his sister. It brings that, or his dad into it. Like, or a lot of stuff was shot really well into it. We have more clones. We have a alien hunter that's hunting them all down. Like, what was it? Those little razor tooth guys that had bounty. Anyway, never mind. It was an episode that I just really, really enjoyed, and should have again led to a brilliant second episode that just kind of petered out. But
Yeah,
it
I agree
it
with
did
you.
a,
Colony's
it
cool.
it did a callback to one of my favorite episodes from the first season, in Erlenmeyer Flask, and I really like it. It was very
Cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good. I can't disagree with any of what you said. Didn't make my top five, but it's definitely probably in the top 10 for me for sure. My number four, and I'll butcher the pronunciation, Dihan de Verletzt, I guess. This is the one involving the satanic school where all they're all Satanists. They actually accidentally, I guess, conjure the devil, and the devil goes around and does a bunch of weird, wild shit. I really, really enjoyed this one. Liked it when I was a kid. Liked it now. I think the weird lady with the horrible haircut is a cool demon devil stuff. I thought the special effects in it were cool with the like pigs moving when they're dissecting them and stuff like that. And it has arguably one of the best monologues and most disturbing monologues in all of X Files, where that high school girl details the abuse that these Satanists have been doing to
Oh,
her. And stuff.
Jesus
It
Christ.
is like harrowing stuff.
I
Um,
forgot about that.
yeah,
Jesus,
how
thanks
could you
for bringing.
forget about that? Holy shit! That's
Why would you bring me back to that dark place? Thanks, Matt.
yeah. So this episode, I really really dug this episode. So that's my number four.
All right, my number 3, and this shouldn't be a surprise to most people. Humbug. Um,
Ah, yes.
it was a fun episode that didn't have anything to do with aliens or the overarching conspiracy. It shined a light on freak show people and carny people in mostly a positive way, showing that they're human and things of that nature. Though that they just ply their trade all day on a Saturday during their day off was
Of
a
course.
little bit hokey. But Scully ate a cricket. There's some sexual harassment of people of short stature. There was a really gross monster that was ultimately the uh, what is it, the inspiration for one of my favorite killers in Dead by Daylight, who separates from their conjoined twin, and the twin runs around and looks exactly like this monster does
Oh,
and
cool.
attacks people in the game. It's super fun to play. So yeah, Humbug is my number 3.
All right. I'll keep my powder dry on my comments for humbug because it may or may not come up soon. Number three for me is Anasazi. The reason why I think this is my number three is because I feel like this is the quintessential mythology episode of this season. This is the one. It's a series season finale. We just watched it last week, but this was the one episode this season that dealt with the overarching mythology and what's going on, that I really felt kind of knocked it out of the park from beginning to end. And you know what? Now that I realize it, I don't even think we mentioned the reason in the last episode as to why Mulder was acting like a crazy psycho. I think we completely forgot. It's because they were
No,
putting LSD in his water.
yeah, or Scully disassembled the water thing downstairs and found a tube of something that was.
Okay, I don't know if I couldn't remember if we actually were
Oh
just
yeah, yeah,
talking about that or if we mentioned that it was like LSD and shit that was being
yeah,
put
it
in.
caused his neighbor to kill her husband and caused
Yeah.
him to start going through
Yeah,
psychosis. Yeah.
but this is the episode that I had the most fun with and brought me back to my childhood state of, oh, I'm super excited to see where this goes, and I like all these characters, and I like the alien stuff. Whereas like Endgame kind of it fell flat. This is the one that I was like banger. So Anasazi is my number three.
My number two is Die Hand der Verlicht.
Ah, nice.
Um, I from the title screen on, it was fun in that it tackled something that I had never seen tackled in popular media before. Kind of like, okay, maybe Christianity is wrong, and maybe those Satanists like have a point, as
Yep.
long as they're not doing awful things. It was a fun episode. I'm not going to really retread what you had said earlier about it, but very very good from beginning to end.
Cool. Yeah. So number two, this was a toss up with my number one. It was kind of a coin flip, but this just fell short of my number one. But it's the host with Turd Man, Fluke Man, whatever you want to call him. To me, this is the quintessential monster episode. This is what, when people think of monster of the week episodes of the X Files, I feel like this is kind of what really started it. When it's clearly a monster that is unique looking. It's gross. It's poop filled. I'm literally looking at an action figure I have of the Fluke Man sitting on my mantle over here. I've always loved this. As a kid, I thought it was really cool. I love how like dirty and gross and nasty this whole episode is, and it just feels like you're getting infected with nastiness just watching it. So they did a great job on the atmosphere of it, and I think the monster itself is pretty iconic when it comes to X Files. X Files, Philes. So the host just came in. I thought it was going to be number one, but it just came in at number two for me. So there you go.
All right, and my number one is the episode we talked about last week, Anasazi.
Okay.
It is again that quintessential. This is what X Files is to all of us. This is what we want to see the most out of every episode. Well, not every episode, but what we look forward to the most. And of all of the episodes of season two, this is the one that I remembered talking to you guys about, because we wouldn't
Yeah.
shut up about this episode for a couple of days after it aired, just because it was so wildly important. Like, where are things going to go now, and it captured the imagination in ways that the other episodes, none of them really did.
100%. I don't disagree with any of that. Excellent episode. Can't wait for next week when we see how it concludes. Hopefully, it concludes well. We don't have a shitty second part of a two-parter. We'll be talking next week about the Blessing Way season or episode one of season three. But my number one is Humbug. Um, Everything. Now, I mentioned it was kind of a coin flip for me between this and the host. I was going back and forth. I was like, which one do I really like better? The reason why this ultimately got uh, sort of pushed over the edge, and this is what made my number one, is the comedic element to it. It's very, very hard for me to find comedy that I laugh at. I don't know if it's just I don't like comedy or I only take to a certain type of comedy, but this had everything in it, include everything that the host did well. This did well, plus it had the added comedic element that I was actually laughing out loud to for a lot. I love the stuff with Mulder and Samson from Carnival and all of the. I love like freak show and circus type culture and stuff like that. So this pretty much had everything that I could want in an episode. And Humbug is my number one. And that's it, folks. That's our top 5 best and worst. We want to know, what are your top 5 best and worst of season 2? Leave a comment down below, and I'll sort of gather them, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about them next week if anyone leaves any comments. But we would love to know, just kind of following along, what you guys thought of all of these various episodes. A banger of a season for season 2. I'm looking forward to season 3. Typically 3, 4, and 5 are considered like the high points of the X-Files.
Mhm.
So we're gonna get some really good stuff
Good
coming
watching.
up. So Jeremy, thank you once again. I've never had you kind of take us out, so I'm just gonna turn it over to you to take us out.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for the last 50 episodes. I can't believe that we've made it this far and we're still semi-sane or still motivated to continue doing this. I hope that y'all are enjoying this content. And again, subscribe, smash that like button, and hopefully we will see you in season 3.